Thony ties up Ramona, leaving her unconscious and restrained. She then convinces Jorge to leave the house early with the kids, ensuring she's alone when Ramona wakes. When Ramona finally regains consciousness, Thony confronts her, furious that Ramona kidnapped Bianca and told her to kill her. Thony declares that Ramona crossed a line and she wants her out of the family. Ramona immediately panics. She's missed her deadline to talk to Hunter Heller, and now the family is in immediate danger. At that exact moment, a masked assassin shoots and kills a security guard, stealing his access card to get inside Jorge's compound. As Ramona pleads with Thony to cut her free, the lights in the house suddenly go out. Thony demands to know what's going on, and Ramona finally confesses she had made a deal to get out of prison. Thony is stunned by this betrayal. Thony goes to check the situation and sees one of the assassins murder a bodyguard. She immediately runs back, cuts Ramona loose, and Ramona springs into action, killing several of the assassins who've broken into the home. Once they're cornered, Ramona brings Thony to a secure panic room. Inside, Ramona unexpectedly slaps Thony hard, knocking her out cold. Thony wakes up later, disoriented, with a gun pointed at her, but Ramona doesn't pull the trigger. With no way of contacting the outside world, they're trapped inside, forced to wait and hope the assassins can't break the door down. While they wait, Ramona calls Thony her greatest project, claiming Thony is just like her, hungry for power. But Thony pushes back. She says she'll never be like Ramona. Sam Heller meets privately with Jorge. He makes an aggressive offer. He wants 50% of Jorge's mining business. Sam tells Jorge he doesn't belong in either world. He's too cartel for the Ivy League, and too Ivy League to be cartel. He says he's Jorge's only shot at legitimacy. Jorge reads through the contract. He's intrigued, especially considering Sam is the most powerful man in Las Vegas. But Jorge still wants to build the mine with his family, not sell it off. He rejects Sam's proposal. As he walks out, Sam sends a text message to the assassins. It's time to blow open Jorge's safe house. Chris and Ted are squatting in Fiona's old house. They wake up to discover Chris's latest video has exploded, over 4 million views. Riding the high, they take some mushrooms to come up with more ideas. But the vibe shifts when Jazz arrives to collect her mail. She reveals she got a scholarship to college based on her writing. She's nervous, though. Her piece is about Fiona being too selfless, and she's worried it'll hurt her mom. Then Fiona herself shows up. The three of them have a long overdue heart-to-heart. Fiona promises to start prioritizing herself more. Chris and Jazz agree to be more honest with her moving forward. Fiona then meets with Benny. She wants his help creating more rideshare accounts, specifically for undocumented workers. Her goal is to make enough money to buy back her old house, rather than keep living in JD's small apartment. Then Fiona gets a call. Thony hasn't picked Luca up from school. Concerned, she picks Luca up herself and brings him to the old house. She's deeply worried about Thony's safety. Back in the panic room, Thony and Ramona hear a massive explosion. They take cover, praying the door holds. Eventually, the sounds of chaos stop. The two cautiously exit the safe room to see what's left. The house is empty, but not ransacked. The assassins have cleared out a hidden safe even Ramona didn't know existed. One assassin, however, is still in the house. He ambushes the women, but Ramona shoots him, saving Thony's life, but not before Thony is shot. She tells Ramona to take her to her old house, the only safe place she can think of. Ramona brings Thony to Fiona's old house, where Fiona and the kids are currently staying. Thony sends Fiona to pick up Dr. DuPont. When DuPont arrives, he quickly assesses the wound and tells Ramona to get some gloves to assist. Ramona begs not to watch another one of Jorge's wives die. DuPont eventually stabilizes Thony and says the bullet missed her liver by just a few centimeters. Jorge arrives in a panic. Ramona assures him Thony will survive and pulls him aside. Ramona confesses the Hellers got her out of prison under the condition that she remove Jorge from power and stop the mining project. She insists she only accepted the deal because they were threatening to kill both her and Jorge. Jorge reveals he turned down Sam's offer because he wanted to build something with his family. But now it's too late. The Hellers have the deed to the mining land, which was inside the safe the assassins stole from. Jorge warns that if Sincara doesn't strike back, they'll look weak. Ramona agrees. It's time to go to war with the Hellers. DuPont takes a moment with Thony and tells her he hasn't seen his sister in a decade, not since she married a dangerous man. He urges Thony not to get swallowed up by Jorge's world. Thony grasps his hand silently, deeply moved. JD tells Fiona they need to distance themselves from Thony. Fiona refuses. She says she'll never abandon her. JD says maybe they should just go back to how it was, sharing custody of Jazz and nothing more. He promises to always love Fiona, but he's done getting pulled into Thony's chaos. Thony tells Jorge she wants to stay at the old house while she recovers. Jorge agrees and promises to come up with a plan to keep Joel Herman off their backs. As she rests, Thony keeps thinking about something Ramona said earlier, that she couldn't bear to watch another of Jorge's wives die. Thony had always believed Vanessa died in an accident, but now she's suspicious. Ramona said it like she was there when it happened. Thony mentions this to Fiona, who warns her to drop it, but we know Thony never listens. At the hospital, Dr. DuPont inspects Thony's gunshot wound. Thony has returned to work just 6 days after being shot, 4 days earlier than DuPont advised. DuPont suggests Thony attend meetings for people in dangerous relationships. Thony politely declines. Suddenly, chaos erupts. A bomb explodes at one of Sam Heller's factories, triggering a mass casualty event. Thony and DuPont spring into emergency mode. Thony instantly knows who's responsible: Jorge and the cartel. Shortly after the bombing, Jorge calls Sam Heller. He warns Sam that this was just the beginning unless he returns the deed for the mining company. Chris flaunts a new jacket, already spending the money he's made from his viral dancing videos. Fiona questions the source of his sudden wealth. Chris and his friend Ted approach Jay, a manager from a branding company. They sign a contract, but the terms are awful. Jay will take 35% of their gross earnings. Chris hesitates but signs after Jay assures him it's standard for newcomers. Ted signs enthusiastically. Thony, still staying at Fiona's house, receives a visit from Jorge's housekeeper, who arrives with Violetta to take Luca to school. Violetta hands Thony Vanessa's old iPad, a device Jorge lets Violetta play on when she's sick. Thony searches it for clues about Vanessa's death, intrigued by Ramona's earlier remarks. Fiona reminds her that all the news reports claimed Vanessa died in a drunk driving accident, with the driver confessing. On the iPad, Thony finds a photo of Vanessa and Bianca. She decides to speak with Bianca. Ramona warns Jorge that their mine investors are becoming impatient. Jorge reveals that Samuel filed an injunction using the deed he stole, halting construction on the mine. Worse still, the county clerk's office has lost the recorded deed. Jorge urges Ramona to rein in the cartel. Eldon selects another Heller property to target. A flashback reveals Vanessa once took Jorge camping in a remote area. She was the one who originally purchased the land Sam stole. Vanessa hoped they'd build a future there, away from the cartel. She was pregnant at the time. Thony tracks down Bianca, who initially runs, fearing Thony is there to kill her. But Thony explains she suspects Vanessa was murdered and needs help proving it. Bianca shares that Vanessa felt she was being followed before her death. She points out discrepancies in the drunk driving story, like the accident occurring 3 hours after the driver left the bar and in the wrong direction from his house. Bianca says police never investigated after his confession. Fiona suspects Chris is dealing drugs, but Jazz shows her Chris's viral dance videos. Realizing the truth, Fiona meets with the branding manager and successfully negotiates a better contract for Chris. Thony visits Jorge and questions him about Vanessa's death. Jorge reveals Vanessa had just accepted a job at Georgetown, and they were planning to move. He had chosen Vanessa over the cartel, with Ramona's full support. In a flashback, Jorge and Vanessa go jogging. He gets called away for a meeting. She continues her route alone. The police later inform him that Vanessa was hit in an accident. Jorge arrived as the coroner zipped up her body bag. In the present, Thony expresses condolences. Jorge shares that Ramona had gone on a business trip to Ecuador at the time. Thony asks if Vanessa had a guard. Jorge says no. Ramona interrupts the conversation, catching Thony in the act of asking questions. Ramona pretends to understand Thony's concern for safety. Ramona then sends over her bodyguard, Alejandra, to protect Thony under the guise of the Sin Cara Heller War. But Thony and Fiona recognize Alejandra as the woman Bianca claimed had been following Vanessa. They grow suspicious that Alejandra was sent to silence Thony. To investigate further, Fiona drugs Alejandra's food with sleeping pills. While Alejandra is knocked out, Thony sneaks out to visit Carl, the imprisoned drunk driver. Carl can't recall anything from the crash. He remembers waking up in his car with a bottle beside him, blood on the windshield, and Vanessa's body in front. He recalls working his shift and stopping at Hadley's for a drink. Thony points out the crash occurred 20 miles away from his route home. Carl remembers speaking to a pretty woman at the bar. When Thony shows him a photo of Ramona, Carl confirms it was her, and adds that a man in a cowboy hat was also with her. Jorge meets with a bomb maker named Mrs. Jones. She details how the blasting cap, wiring, 2 kilograms of C4, and a receiver are concealed in everyday items. At the geothermal facility, Jorge's man sneaks these components past security, hidden in a pen, lunchbox, and more. Jorge asks if the site can be evacuated first. Ramona replies that any deaths would be on the Hellers. Jones estimates the bomb would kill around 12 people. Jorge approves the hit, but insists he give the detonation signal himself. The cowboy assassin is dispatched to the Heller plant. Thony brings all her findings to Assistant District Attorney Joel Herman, but Joel says she still doesn't have enough to build a case. He criticizes her for using the law when it suits her, rather than helping take down Sin Cara. Sin Cara has tapped Joel's phone. Jorge, Ramona, and Eldon confront Thony about the meeting. Jorge asks if she told Joel about the Heller bombing. Thony insists she didn't, only about Ramona. She claims Ramona confessed to killing Vanessa after she was shot, and is trying to silence her with Alejandra. Ramona says she sent Alejandra for protection. Thony lays it out. She knows he got a call during his run. She believes it was all a setup. The driver confirmed he saw someone who looked like Ramona, and a cowboy-hatted man. Ramona argues she was in Ecuador with General Cortez at the time. But El Don calls her out. He was with Cortez and Juarez. She wasn't in Ecuador. Realizing the truth is out, Ramona pulls a gun. A flashback reveals that the car crash didn't kill Vanessa. Ramona did. She finished the job. Vanessa wanted to take Jorge from me, she says bitterly. Jorge orders El Don to kill her. A shootout erupts. Ramona flees. Outside, she's stopped by Joel and a SWAT team. Thony begs Jorge not to shoot. Ramona is arrested for Vanessa Sanchez's murder and taken back to prison. Jorge is handcuffed. At the Heller plant, the cowboy assassin, unable to reach Jorge, goes ahead and detonates the bomb on his own. Later, Thony watches the news report about the explosion. Joel tells her that Carl should be out of jail by week's end. His team reviewed traffic cam footage, just as Thony suggested. It showed Ramona and the cowboy assassin driving Carl's car before Vanessa's death. Jorge receives a call from Samuel, who agrees to a ceasefire and suggests a, quote, mutually dissatisfying compromise. They agree to meet at Sunset Park on Sunday. A drunk Jorge shows up at Fiona's house. He thanks Thony for revealing the truth about Ramona. He asks her to look after Violetta, admitting he's no good to her, not until the cowboy is dead. Everyone is worried for Jorge, as he is on a killing spree, searching for Cowboy Hat, not focusing on anything else. But Cowboy is a step ahead of them. He grabs a mule who is also a cleaning lady and forces her to help him smuggle something. Soon after, the lady rushes to Thony's hospital with a bad cut on her stomach. They initially suspect organ trafficking, but the moment the lady reveals she's a cleaning lady and part-time mule for Sin Cara, Thony takes her to X-ray where they find a bomb implanted in her. The bomb squad is called in, but their priority is disarming the bomb, not saving the lady. Thony refuses to let the woman die. Pushing against protocol, she enlists Dr. DuPont to help her perform a high-risk surgery to extract the bomb. At this point, Fiona and Jorge have heard about the bomb scare and are already at the hospital. Jorge tries his best to get Thony to leave, but she refuses. Fiona is near tears when Thony calls to tell her to look after her son if she doesn't make it out. Fortunately, Thony and DuPont successfully remove the bomb and save the woman's life. In the aftermath, Thony finally confesses the truth to DuPont. She works for the cartel, and her marriage to Jorge is fake. This shocking truth, however, doesn't push DuPont away. He stays by her side. Jorge had left the hospital to attend the scheduled meeting with Sam Heller. En route, his contacts pinpoint the Cowboy Hat's exact location. Jorge immediately ditches the ceasefire meetup, hunts the cowboy down, and unleashes his vengeance, beating and killing him in cold blood. He returns to the hospital to check on Thony, but DuPont lies, telling him Thony has already left. On his way out, he leaves a voice message for Thony, confessing that the primary reason he killed the cowboy was for her. He couldn't stand the thought of the killer being alive to potentially hurt her. He's ready to drop the act and build a real family with her. But by the time that message hits her phone, Thony is already getting it on with Dr. DuPont. With Jorge blowing off Sam to pursue the cowboy, the Sin Cara cartel erupts into chaos. One cartel faction violently wipes out a rival Sin Cara family. They then page Thony to the horrifying scene, sending a clear, bloody message that Jorge needs to pay the $250 million he owes, or this is just the beginning. To make matters worse, Assistant DA Joel obtains a search warrant for Jorge's house where they find a bloodied picture of Rex, a picture Thony had given to Rex's wife. Someone is clearly making sure Jorge goes down for Rex's murder. With the Sin Cara leader now in custody, it falls to Thony to secure either the deed to the land or the $250 million payment from Sam Heller. Eldon urges Thony to go into hiding with Luca, but she refuses. Jorge's plan before his arrest was to rob Sam at gunpoint, but Thony isn't cut out for that violence. She tries to placate Sam with words, but you can't really get through men like that by just talking. Sam is still angry Jorge stood him up, so he hurls racist words at Thony and bans her from his company. Thony quickly pivots to cyber warfare. She wants Benny to create a powerful virus she will physically plant on Heller's network. The virus will shut down all of Sam's businesses. Thony's demand, $250 million transferred to a Bitcoin wallet, or he doesn't get the password to disable it. Bung, who is panicking over pressure from his boss about the mining investment, overhears the plan and enthusiastically supports it. He even promises to clear Benny's slate if they pull off the impossible. To get into Heller's building, they need access, which they secure after realizing Jorge's maid is the snitch. The maid had planted Rex's picture in Jorge's house in exchange for Sam paying for her cosmetic surgery. Thony takes the maid's keycard and heads to Heller's building. But Benny is terrible at giving directions that Fong almost cuts off Benny's toes as an incentive for him to get serious, like they do at the call center. But Fiona stops him and gives him a pep talk. He snaps into action mode, but not before Thony gets discovered by Heller security, though she manages to plant the virus before being captured. With a gun in hand, Thony is confronted by Sam. When he demands to know who she thinks she is, my girl finally admits she's Sin Cara. It doesn't take long for the virus to take effect, but Sam boasts that his security would fix it in 25 minutes or so. Thony points out he is losing millions per minute, and this could literally end right now if he just transfers $250 million to a Bitcoin wallet. He ultimately agrees, and Thony races out of there. Despite their passionate earlier encounter, Thony deliberately keeps things casual with Dr. DuPont. She listened to Jorge's heartfelt love confession voicemail and has decided she wants to give their family a chance, admitting she has feelings for Jorge too. Thony heads straight to the police station for Jorge's release. Just as she is about to tell him she wants to build a future together, Jorge speaks, asking Thony to trust him. Before she can reply, Joel steps in and arrests Thony for Rex's murder. What the helly? When Jorge asked that Ramona's name be released to the prisoners as the face of the Sin Cara cartel, he did it hoping they'd tear her apart, his sweet revenge. What he didn't anticipate was that the prisoners would actually fear Ramona. She's Sin Cara after all, and now, that little miscalculation has come back to bite him and Thony hard. With Thony arrested, Jorge quickly crashes the questioning, declaring himself her lawyer. He reveals that he only testified against her as a part of a deal he had cut with ADA Joel to root out law enforcement corruption. Rex's picture was in police lockup before it mysteriously got to Jorge's house, meaning someone in law enforcement working for Sam Heller got it out. Now they are using Thony as bait to fish the person out. Why not use himself as bait, though? He promises to get her out as soon as possible, but things get complicated when Thony is transferred to prison, without anyone's knowledge or due process. It doesn't take long for Ramona's goons to beat Thony up and get her into solitary. Days pass and Thony still isn't released. They wouldn't even let Fiona see her. When Thony eventually gets back to General Pop, she knows it's now her, or Ramona. So she gets herself assigned to the kitchen and poisons Ramona's gang's food, giving them severe stomach aches. This move, which also accidentally gives her roommate Cheryl a heart attack, allows Thony to showcase her medical skills in the ward and steal a pair of scissors for defense. For Thony, she's playing defense, but Cheryl encourages her to go offense, or she would have to be looking over her shoulder for the rest of her stay. Thony finally decides to corner Ramona in the bathroom, but Ramona also has the same plan. She knocks Thony cold in 2 seconds, and Thony lands in the infirmary. But Ramona's plan is grander than just killing Thony. The fight was a distraction to cause a riot in the prison, making it easy for Ramona to escape. At first, Thony assumes Ramona is coming to kill her, but one of Ramona's gang in prison reveals Ramona is going after Luca. While Thony is in jail, Jorge tries his best to track down the person responsible for throwing a wrench in his plans. Even though he broke a personal deal by testifying against his pretend wife, he never meant for her to be in any real danger. With Joel being unable to do anything, Jorge takes to talking to the DA about his wife being jailed without due diligence, but he figures out that the district attorney is Heller's mole and was responsible for Thony's illegal transfer and the planted evidence. Therefore, Jorge does what cartel men do best. He drugs the DA to death, staging it as an overdose. His hit clears the way for Joel to get promoted, which ironically puts Joel in a position to free Thony. After Fiona's emotional confrontation with him, Thony is finally released. But by then, she's already broken out with the riot, desperate to find Luca. She uses a stranger's phone to warn Fiona, but Fiona is too slow. Ramona successfully kidnaps Luca and Violetta right in front of her. Thony and Jorge mobilize, using all their resources to track Ramona and the children. They track Ramona to a museum where she leaves a phone, instructing Thony to bring Luca's medication to a remote location alone. There, Ramona has a grave dug. She reveals her plan to raise the children herself, but she must kill Thony because Thony would hunt her forever to find Luca. Just as Ramona is about to pull the trigger, Fiona arrives, having tracked her vehicle thanks to Benny, and knocks Ramona unconscious. Jorge, on the other hand, had been given a fake location by Feng Ah, who is making a play for the head of Sin Cara. Still, Jorge and El Don manage to survive Feng's ambush and get to the kids in time. When Thony learns the kids are safe, she urges Fiona to go while she takes care of Ramona. As much as she wants to kill the woman so they have some peace, she can't bring herself to. She decides to bury her alive and let nature take its course. Thony finally meets Jorge and the kids for a heartfelt hug. Jorge, having lost Sin Cara to Feng, asks Thony to flee with him to regroup and reclaim his throne later. Thony, however, refuses to give up the life she built. Despite having finally found their way to each other, their paths diverge. Jorge gives Thony a parting gift, a book of all of Heller's dirty deeds he took from the deceased DA. Thony ends the season by taking the reins of her own destiny. She uses Heller's dirt not for freedom, but as an olive branch to Fung, demanding her own seat at the Sin Cara table. She also makes a separate deal with Joel to become his eyes and ears in the cartel, thereby earning her freedom from persecution for escaping prison and securing a powerful double life. Thony is now intent on fighting her way to the top to become the new head of Sin Cara. As for Fiona, her long dream of buying their house finally comes true. The agents made it hard because she's undocumented, asking her to raise her offer within a week. Impossible, until her fellow undocumented rideshare workers pool donations for her. Even Chris chips in the $60,000 he's saved from content creation, money he'd planned to use to move to LA. Fiona is overwhelmed as she signs the deed, making sure Chris's name is on it too so he'll always have a home in the US. From cleaning ladies to homeowners, it's been a long, wild journey. But their woes are far from over, because Ramona wakes up in her coffin and she has a phone with her. With Alejandra still on the loose, it wouldn't take long for Ramona to call Alejandra to come dig her out. That woman is a cockroach,